steps down the new roads armed with nothing but their vision. With these words of Ayn Rand, I welcome you all to yet another inspiring session of Distinguished Guest Lecture Series. India is undergoing an unprecedented demographic transition. Every third person in India, in an Indian city today, is a youth, and a report published by IRIS Knowledge reflects that in about 7 years, the median individual in India will be 29 years, making India the youngest country in the world. India is set to experience a dynamic transformation in its demographics. Historically, when such phenomena have occurred elsewhere, they have driven periods of sustained economic growth. In the case of India, the potential is even greater since this demographic changes in our country coincides with the aging and declining young population in the developed world. To enlighten us more on the need to harness the demographic dividend for productive means, we have with us today eminent thinker on the public administration, Shri Narayan Vyas, to discuss on the topic India's youth, a demographic dividend or a disaster. A graduate civil engineer from MS University, Shri Narayan Vyas is an engineer by training. He is a fellow of Institution of Engineers and holds a master's degree in civil engineering from IIT Mumbai. With postgraduate qualifications in management, he also holds a doctorate in the same discipline and a degree in law. Shri Vyas is recognized as an eminent thinker on public administration, economics, and finance, and has also been a public life functionary over the last 2 decades. I would request the student volunteers to felicitate Sir with a bouquet. We welcome you, sir. Without further ado, I would straight away invite sir to take the podium.
Professor Hemant Bhai, distinguished members of the faculty, dear students, good morning. Friends, it's a very great occasion for me to be here. I understand you had your foundation day on 18th, and belated though, I take this opportunity to wish your great institute and you a very, very promising future and great times ahead. Friends, when I was approached with a request to address you, the first choice of the topic that I had was related to Indian youth. I have carefully tried to present some information sequenced in a manner that it can highlight the potential and also the problems related with youth, the class to which you belong. I have deliberately tried to tickle your imagination, at times invite you to comment, and at times challenge your beliefs. And therefore, I expect at the end of my presentation a very good interactive session. With this, friends, let me begin. It was very rightly said that we are a country which is the youngest country on the globe. In terms of population, we are second largest, next only to China. The United Nations Population Report has been now revised to say that compared to about 2035, which was earlier benchmark, we will surpass China somewhere around 2028. And I'm confident if God is as kind to us as it is, we will do it slightly ahead of it. The way we are growing as far as the population is concerned. Friends, this is how the population graph is likely to behave. Around roughly 2030, the Chinese population increase is going to get stabilized, but we are going to continue to grow. This is just the population pyramid which shows how, and you'll be able to see distinct bulge at the center, showing that as we go towards the top, it's a tapering number, meaning thereby that the median, which is making this country as the youngest in the world, is at the center, somewhere even less than that. We have about 70 crore or 700 million population, which is below 29. Compared to that, about 103 million population, which is above 60. Now, friends, if we look at India alone, then this is a country which is younger country. But if you look at similar population spread or the population bracket compared to smaller country or compared to even countries like United States of America, the number of people who are going to be above 60 is also not going to be smaller. So for planners, it's not going to be only a problem of planning for the younger population. You'll have a reasonably large elderly population also about whom you will have to worry. This is comparison between India, China, and United States of America. Number of times we say that in United States or in countries like Euro countries, everything is available. It's an economy of plenty. Perhaps we don't realize that United States is 4.5 times larger in size with almost same denominator applied to the population matrix. If you talk of Sweden, its population is less than population of Bombay, more or less, and size 4.5 times that of Gujarat. Now, when you are comparing these countries, therefore, you must be aware about the size and the kind of resources with which they are blessed with. So, India and China are obvious, I would say, competitors in population growth, but China eventually will peep us at the goalpost. Another important thing is that if you read the beginning para of the United States Development Council's report, it has said that 21st century would belong to Asia, and in Asia, it will belong to India and China. And then, since it is supposed to advise the United States of America's president, in the same breath it says that it will be prudent for United States of America to make India and China compete rather than collaborate. And should they collaborate still, the United States will be better advised to create a third axis under the leadership of Japan to combat the increasing influence of India and China on this part of the world. So this is continuously now going to be the scenario dictating the global politics in the years to come. When you become policy planners, this will be one of the major things you will have to keep in mind. If you look at 2030 projected median age, India will be 32, China 43, US 39, UK 42, Japan 52, and Brazil 35. So next to India will be Brazil with a median age of 35 compared to 32 that we have. A third of the population is under 15, more than half under 24 as far as India is concerned. Every third person in an Indian city today is between 15 and 32. The median age of India is 27. By 2020, India is set to become the world's youngest country with 64% of its population in the working age group. Now, see, basically, why I have said this is that compared to the Europe, compared to United States of America, where the policy planners will have to worry about the aging population, the population which will depend upon government doles and subsidies. Here you will have to worry about giving the younger population some useful occupation or useful job. So the policies will be diametrically opposite. What is good for India not necessarily will be good for United States of America. And what is good for United States of America or Europe not necessarily will be good for you. This is another situation globally, if you look at, where you will have labor force surplus by 2020. India will have 47 million people surplus than what we can utilize. China minus 10, US minus 17. So India will be continue to be a source of outward migration. Secondly, that though we might and we shall adopt technology, if the technology, there is a choice between doing the same thing, using manpower and using technology, I think our choice will be for the manpower-oriented activities rather than the technology-oriented activities. Automations at time, which is good in developed countries, not necessarily will be good for India. And if you have to have that automation, you will have to alternatively worry about the people who will be rendered jobless because of that. This is the CAGR. I think all of you are very familiar with. I'm not going to stop here for a longer time, but we'll have a reasonable prospect of a CAGR in excess of about 6.5%. China will be also clicking more or less the same. Developed economies obviously will be on a flatter curve. Total employment, unemployment rate, as you are seeing, is not going to recede. And I'll tell you the reason why, what is likely to happen. So type of jobs also.